Hello everyone, welcome to WhiskyWars. Today we have, as you can see, two Lagavulins to review on the channel. Now these are two very peated Islay scotches. We have the Lagavulin 8-year against the Lagavulin 16-year. Now the 8-year is proof slightly higher at 48% ABV, with the 16-year at 43% ABV. Both these whiskies are purely finished in ex-bourbon casks. So really what's going to be quite nice about this review is really we're going to be seeing and talking about the differences that the aging process has on Lagavulin. Okay, I'm quickly going to get these poured out and let's get straight into the nose. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the colour. None of these whiskies mention natural colour or non-chill filtered, as far as I'm aware. So let's not pay too much credence to it. But the Lagavulin is certainly this very nice, light, greeny yellow coloured, almost see-through water style of liquid. With the Lagavulin, this much more deeper, dark amber. Okay guys, just before we get stuck into the nosing, if you're excited for this video or you like these videos, please drop a like on the video and don't forget to click that subscribe button. So thank you so much for that. Let's get straight into the nosing. And the first thing I think of is there's a sweetness to this whiskey, but also a bitterness to this whiskey. So for the sweetness, it's certainly more in the orchard fruit realm. And for me, it's a pear. I always get this pear note on the Lagavulin 8-year. But there's plenty of tobacco in here as well. But there's this bitter herb note. And for me, it comes across very, very tea-like Chinese tea. Chinese herbs and Chinese tea. Just providing this bitterness, this grassy herbal bitterness to the whiskey, which is balanced out with that pear sweetness, but also it's quite tobacco heavy and a little bit earthy. It's a really, really nice nose. There's also some salt coming through and some Islay peat as well, which gives it this smoked wood, earthy kind of style, salty sea breeze. Very salty in fact. Okay, on to the 16-year. Wow, more different than what I was expecting. I've not actually done these side by side before. Much more intense on the sweetness side of things. It's coming across a lot less bitter. So those, I would say those Chinese style herbs and tea, which gives it that grassy herbal bitterness, is less present on the 16-year. And now you're getting butterscotches and toffees into this whiskey. Almost like a licorice note in there. Oh, that's really improved the nose for me, that. A bit more wood char as well. Almost a touch of chocolate with that tobacco. It's coming across more sweet. And it's a lot more ashy as well. Interesting. And that pear note is less present as well. So for me, on the nose at least, the differences between these two on the nose is the 8-year has more of that bitter herbal nuance with a pear sweetness. And the 16-year-old emphasises that tobacco, but also emphasises sweet notes like toffees and butterscotch. It also comes across more ashy as well. And the 8-year seems a little bit more salty. Yeah, it's more salty. A little bit more lively, a little bit more salty. And a little bit more citrusy. The 16-year is a bit darker, more nuanced, evening cigar lounge kind of vibe, a little bit more than the 8-year, and the 8-year does give me those vibes still. I think the 16-year is more elevated in that note. Yeah, more of a reserved mood whiskey, I think, for the 16-year. Okay, let's get stuck into the taste. It's salty, there's a sweetness to it, but it's still very, very fresh. This is a fresh Islay whiskey, which is not very common. I would say it remains more salty than sweet though, but it's still extremely fresh, and it's that herbal quality that really lifts this whiskey. It's citrus forward as well. There's like a grapefruit in here, giving it some sort of a kick. Let's try the 16 year. Yeah, similar experience with the differences on the nose. It applies to the taste too, so I won't spend too long on it. Apart from saying far more tobacco, pipe tobacco, but an ashy quality, almost like a chimney soot. Less salty and more sweet. Starting to get in those honeys and toffees. It's like honey pipe tobacco, ashy. I wouldn't really say earthy. I'd say they've got a similar earthiness to both of these whiskies, but far less fresh. Far less fresh on the 16 year. So this puts me firmly in that cigar lounge arena, gentleman's club. The 8-year-old takes you outside a bit more. I really like that 16 year. I really like it. That is a good whiskey. Let's quickly touch on the price. The 8-year-old is roughly around the £45 mark in the UK, but it does have a little bit of a swing on its pricing. I've seen it as low as 38, but it can also drift towards that 50, early 50s mark. So I'd say 45 is a rough guide for this whiskey. The 16 year used to be £50 always in the UK, and then a few years ago, since COVID, it's really sort of spiked up, and it's actually around the £75 mark now. Although deals have been happening on this whiskey in the last 6 months, a lot, that drop it to that £62, £63 mark. So the 16 year is more expensive, as you probably have already guessed. I do think though, for that amount of money, for me it's ever so slightly overpriced. I'd like to see it around that £55 mark. That would be a sweet spot for this whiskey, and I think it'd be very good for the money. I just think it's a little bit too much on the pricing. The pricing for the 8 year, especially for that extra 5% in proof, I think is much better. I actually picked this one up for £38 on that really good offer that I said. For around £40, I think it's amazing value for money. For the £45 mark that I see it a lot at, I think that's where it should sit. It's good pricing. 16 years a little bit overpriced. Having said that, I do prefer the 16 year. So this is a difficult one. It just comes down to how much more do I prefer the 16 year to the 8 year. Because it's a lot more money. You're talking an extra £30 or an extra £20 if you look for a deal. So I've actually been going back and forth on my preference of which one wins today, just because I actually enjoy the uniqueness of that Chinese herbal tea bitterness to this whiskey on the 8 year. I really do like that, because it's not something that I get too much on whiskies. But the 16 year for me is a classic. I love that heavy tobacco note, cigar lounge vibes, and it's a little bit more sweet than salty as well. So for me, this is an evening mood whiskey, and I really enjoy that. But I like the uniqueness of the 8 year. So I want to stress they're both good whiskies in their own right. Even though this is slightly overpriced, which I do think it's overpriced, I was just about to go for the 16 year. To be honest with you, if I'm going to buy a whiskey again, if I see this for £38, I'd probably go for the 8 year just to save that extra money. So actually, I was just about to go for the 16 year, but the 8 year wins today. I really hope this video provided some value towards you guys, or you enjoyed it at the very least, a little bit of light entertainment maybe. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like on the video and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Really trying to hit 1,000 subscribers soon, so all the help you guys can give me would be much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you all for the next Whiskey War.